Chichikov and Manilov went up to the first desk, behind which sat two young clerks, and said, "We'd like to find out where they take care of the legalization of purchase deeds here." "What is it you want?" the two clerks said, turning toward them. "I wish to make an application." "Have you bought something?" "First, I'd like to find out where the purchase deed desk is. Is it in here or somewhere else?" "You tell us what you've bought and for how much, and we'll tell you where to address yourself. We can't direct you unless you tell us." But Chichikov saw right away that the clerks were simply curious, as all young clerks are likely to be, and also wanted to look important and knowing. "Look here, my friends," he said. "I am well aware that everything that has to do with purchase deeds, whatever the price involved, is taken care of in one place. So kindly tell us which desk handles it. Now, if you don't know what's going on in your own offices, we can ask elsewhere." The clerks did not reply to this, but one of them pointed to a corner of the room where an old man sat at a desk, initialing some documents. Chichikov and Manilov worked their way toward him among the desks. The old man was busily absorbed in his work. "Excuse me, is this where one takes care of purchase deeds?" Chichikov asked with a polite bow. The old man raised his eyes and, clearly pronouncing every syllable, said, "We do not handle purchase deeds here." "Where then?" "In the purchase deeds section." "And where's that?" "Go and see Ivan Antonovich." "And where do we find Ivan Antonovich?" The old man pointed to another corner of the room, and they walked over to Ivan Antonovich, who for some time now had been sizing them up with one eye. But when they stood in front of his desk, he made that eye join the other one on the paper in front of him and became absorbed in his writing. "Is this the purchase deed desk?" Chichikov asked with a bow. The other didn't appear to have heard and immersed himself even further in his papers. It was obvious that this was no empty-headed young chatterbox. He was considerably over 40. His hair was black and thick. The central part of his physiognomy jutted out, culminating in his nose, so that he could aptly have been described as jug-faced. "I would like to know whether or not this is the purchase deed section," Chichikov said. "This is it," Ivan Antonovich said, and turning his jug face to one side, went on writing. "I have the following business. I have purchased peasants from various local landowners, and I have the deeds and would like to legalize them. And the landowners in question are here? One is here. From the rest, I have powers of attorney. Have you your application?" "Yes, I have that too." "And you see I'm in rather a hurry, and wonder whether we couldn't settle the matter today?" "Today? That's impossible. We must make inquiries and find out if there are any objections." "Well, as to that," Chichikov said, "the matter could be speeded up because Ivan Grigorievich, the president of the district court, is a good friend of mine." "But Ivan Grigorievich is not the only one concerned. There are others too," Ivan Antonovich said dryly. Chichikov took the hint and said, "The others won't be very sorry either. I've been in government service too, and know how things are." "Go and see Ivan Grigorievich," Ivan Antonovich said in a more friendly tone. "If he issues the order, we'll see to it that the matter is not dragged out." Chichikov took a bill out of his pocket and put it on the desk in front of Ivan Antonovich, who, without looking at it, covered it immediately with a book. Chichikov wanted to point it out to him, but the other shook his head, making it clear he wanted nothing pointed out. "Here, this fellow will take you to the chambers," Ivan Antonovich said, indicating with his head one of the servants of Themis, who had served her with such ardor that the seams of his coat had burst at the elbows and the lining protruded, for which zeal he had been promoted one rung up the long bureaucratic ladder and was now to guide Chichikov, as Virgil guided Dante. He led him to the chambers, where there stood a deep, wide armchair. In it, behind a desk supporting two weighty volumes, sat the president, alone in his magnificence, like the sun. Chichikov's Virgil felt such awe that he could not bring himself to enter the room, and returned whence he had come, giving Chichikov a last glimpse of his threadbare back, with a feather clinging to the middle of it. When Chichikov and Manilov were inside the room, they realized that the president was not alone, as they had first thought, but that Sobakevich, screened from them by the high back of the armchair, was there too. The arrival of the visitors produced exclamations, and the government-owned armchair was noisily pushed back. Sobakevich also stood up and could now be seen clearly, long arms and all. The president threw his arms around Chichikov, and the chambers resounded with kisses. They inquired after each other's health, and it transpired that both of them had pains in the small of the back, due in both cases, they agreed, to their sedentary mode of life. The president seemed to have been informed by Sobakevich of the purchase and started congratulating Chichikov, making him feel somewhat awkward since he had made his deals with Sobakevich and Manilov confidentially. And now here they were, standing face to face. However, he thanked the president, and then, turning towards Sobakevich, inquired, "How are you?" "I'm not complaining, thank God," Sobakevich said. Indeed, it didn't look as if he had much to complain of. A piece of iron seemed more likely to catch cold and start coughing than this sturdy landowner. "Yes, you've always been famous for your good health. And so was your late father," the president remarked. "There was a strong man." "Yes, he used to go after bear all alone," Sobakevich said. "I'd say you could knock over a bear too, if you tried," the president said. "Oh no, I couldn't," Sobakevich said. "My late father was much stronger than I am. People aren't what they used to be in his day. Just look at the way I live. What kind of a life is it?" "What's wrong with your life?" the president of the district court inquired. "It's just not good," Sobakevich said, shaking his head. "See for yourself, Ivan Grigoryevich. I'm going on 50 now, and I've never been sick. Not even a sore throat, or a boil, or anything. It's not a good sign. Someday I'll have to pay for it." And Sobakevich abandoned himself to his melancholy thoughts. Both Chichikov and the president thought simultaneously, "What a man! What a reason for being dissatisfied!" "I have a letter for you," Chichikov said to the president, taking Plushkin's letter out of his pocket. "From whom?" the president asked, opening it. "Ah, it's from Plushkin, so he's still rattling his bones around among the living. What terrible luck, to think that he was such an intelligent, wealthy man, while now—" "The dirty dog," Sobakevich said. "He's starved his people to death, the lousy pig." By all means," the president said, having read the letter. "I'm prepared to act on his behalf." "When do you wish to execute the purchase deed? Shall we do it right away, or leave it for later?" "Right away," Chichikov said. "And what's more, I would ask you if it's at all possible to have the whole transaction completed today, for I must be out of town tomorrow. I've brought the purchase deeds and the application along with me." "That's all very well. But whatever you say, we won't allow you to leave so soon. The purchase deeds will be ready today, but you must remain with us as our guest. I'll issue orders to that effect now," he said, and opened the door to the office full of clerks who, as the door opened, took on the appearance of busy bees scattered over a honeycomb. "Ivan Antonovich there?" "Yes, sir," a voice answered from the room. "Ask him to come in here." Ivan Antonovich, the jug-face whom we've already met, appeared in the chambers and bowed respectfully. "Here, Ivan Antonovich, take these deeds." "And don't forget, Ivan Grigoryevich," Sobakevich butted in, "that we'll need witnesses, at least a couple for each side. You ought to send someone to the public prosecutors right away. He's an idle man and must be sitting at home, while Zolotkukha, the attorney and the world's #1 extortionist, performs all his functions. And send for the health inspector, too. He's another idle man and is probably at home, if he's not playing cards somewhere. Oh, and there are others not far away from here, such as Trukashevsky and Bogushkin. A lot of them burden the earth for no good reason anyway. That's right, the president said, and immediately dispatched his bureaucrats. May I also ask you to send for the legal representative of a lady landowner with whom I have already concluded a transaction? The son of Father Cyril, the deacon. I was told he works here. Certainly, of course we'll send for him, the president said. And please don't give anything to my subordinates. I must insist on this point. Friends of mine don't have to pay their way through. Having said this, he proceeded to give instructions to Ivan Antonovich, which the latter didn't seem to care for at all. Apparently, the purchase deeds had favorably impressed the president, particularly when he realized that the total transaction involved nearly 100,000 rubles. For a few moments, he looked straight into Chichikov's eyes with a satisfied expression. Then he said, "So that's the way things are, my dear Chichikov. So I see you've acquired some property." "I have." "Very good. Well done." "I must say," Chichikov said, "that I don't see how I could have done better. For, whatever one may say, a man's goal in life remains undetermined until he has his feet firmly planted, and not on the delusions of free-thinking youth." And he used this opportunity to take a dig at liberalism and to castigate deservedly the younger generation. However, a strange note of doubt crept into his words, as though he might be saying to himself, "What a liar you are." He didn't dare look Manilov or Sobakevich in the face. His worries, however, were quite unfounded. Sobakevich's face remained immobile, while Manilov, enraptured by his phrases, was nodding approval, like a music lover. When the operatic soprano outdoes the violin itself and lets out a note so high-pitched, it even exceeds the capacity of a bird's throat.